Hello everyone, welcome to the Power Talk Show. We are back after a long delay, but this time we are sure to continue bringing in business leaders and entrepreneurs to share and inspire their amazing journey. Our guest today is a serial entrepreneur and strategic advisor working on different projects. One of them is very much interesting because he is building a Silicon Valley in the Middle East called as Oman Wadi. So let's meet our guest for today, Darshan Bhatt, CEO at Tech Solutions. Hello, Darshan. Welcome to the Power Talk Show. We would like you to introduce to your audience, but before that, I would like you to introduce yourself to our audience. What do you do? What kind of role do you play in the GCC, and how do you help companies grow in the digital transformation world?
Thank you, Naveen, for this wonderful opportunity, and thank you. It's a great opportunity. Yes, let me start with what I've done for the last 22 years. Currently, I advise clients on strategy, transformation, leadership, and I have been a global business strategist and an advisor to a lot of companies across media, entertainment, and technology across Southeast Asia and the Middle East. I moved to Dubai in 2021 during the pandemic, and what I have done is that I continue to work with companies across India as well as across Oman in the GCC, as well as Dubai and Abu Dhabi as well. So currently, I'm currently working with about four companies. The first company that I'm working with is a technology solutions and software implementation company. It's a startup, but it's obviously run by a team that has a international cumulative experience of 75 years. So this company purely focuses on digital transformation and automating your entire business processes. The second company I work with is in the domain of esports, and that is a company called Nasr, NASR, and Nasr means winning in Arabic. And they run a very successful esports team in the Middle East, North Africa, and Turkey region. And their next phase of growth is to start an academy, and they are affiliated with Abu Dhabi Gaming. So I'm sort of advising the core leadership team there and the board there. The third company that I'm working with is in the space of consulting. It's a business consulting company called Green Strategic Advisors. They are based out of Oman. They are working on a very, very unique concept called as Silicon Valley, which is akin to Silicon Valley, where in line with Oman's vision of 2040, the intent is to bring the best of technologies, the proprietary technologies, into Oman, and get Oman take full advantage of the proprietary technologies that are existing in the world, and convert those opportunities into full-fledged, thriving technology-based solution companies in Oman as well. There are various sectors that they're targeting, from agri-tech, health tech, fintech to even real estate as well. So that's another interesting project where I get to speak to a lot of founders across North America and the world. And the fourth company that I work with is called Sensibly Weird Company. It's a marketing and communications company that started in India, but now they're rapidly expanding to the GCC, where I'm the sort of leader for the emerging markets here. And again, the intent is how do you combine technology and communication, and therefore deliver value to your esteemed set of clients. So that is largely my role in the GCC. I've been a resident of Dubai for the past 3 years now, and it is a happy place, and it's the gateway to the world, as they say.
Absolutely. I see that you have a lot in your plate right now. So let's start with, when you say about digital transformation and emerging technologies, what do you think? What is the future as we are living in the post-COVID era? What do you think? How is the trend going on?
Look, I think what COVID has done, and we're actually way past the COVID in that sense. But I think overall the evolution of technology has been very, very, very fast, right? And that is all because of human capital. I think the 5 key business trends that are emerging and have already emerged is, first is that there is an accelerated digital transformation, right? The entire intent now is to create intelligent enterprises where the systems and processes work together coherently, which will help companies literally complete menial and mundane tasks, right? So these are tasks which doesn't really need human intervention in the most efficient way possible. And what a lot of companies are now trying to do is that they're trying to get data which is accurate and at the right time, right? So there is this increasing need amongst SMEs and amongst businesses, especially SMEs, to now completely automate their business processes, and therefore AdTech solutions is in the right place to take advantage of that. I think the second, looking at the overall economy, right? There is this there is inflation, which has been a major cause of concern, and also supply chain security, right? So with the wars that are happening in Russia and Ukraine and China, so there is this increasingly people are now looking at securing their supply chain, because there was obviously, because of COVID, there was semiconductors was in short supply, and also if you would have probably read, there is this massive push to develop more and more ports so that you can reach the places, and import and export of goods and services can be accelerated in that sense, right? So there is a massive push to doing that. I think third, for the past few weeks, the entire Europe has been in the news for extremely high heat temperatures, and I think now the focus is increasingly on sustainability, and especially the three key words of ESG, right, which is environmental, social, and governance. I think now people and the governments across the world will realize it even more, because the impact of global warming can be seen from US till Europe, everywhere, right? And this change in climate is also now going to push the companies to actually look at their carbon footprint. They look at their corporate responsibility and the social responsibility to focus on ESG. One of the other things from a consumer standpoint, what's happening is this emergence of immersive customer experience, right? And the immersive customer experience has always been there. Meta has tried to do something. Metaverse actually came up. Then Snap developed the goggles, and I think now with Apple also stepping in, I think we are more and more now we are not outgoing, but our entertainment has become more inward in that sense, right? And therefore I think this entire touch and feel economy that now we are moving towards is going to coincide with this immersive customer experiences. So more and more things will be about touch and feel, where you don't physically have to go and do things, right? Which means that you get far better access to what's going to come to you tomorrow, for example. I think that one of the key challenges to make all of this happen, and one of the trends that I'm seeing, is the challenge in identifying and retaining key talent. And I mentioned that in the beginning, that everything that has happened in this world is because of human capital, right? It's at the end of the day, whatever we do, it's all because of humans. And I think to make all of this happen, and the changes that are happening with hybrid working, remote working, I think there are so many opportunities and so many people wanting to do different things. I think a lot of corporations, big and small, are now grappling with the thought of how will they manage the entire talent economy, and how will they therefore do the right culture, get the right talent, give them the right opportunity. Because today, truly, when we have AI, chat GPT 3, chat GPT 4, so much knocking at our doors, where there is this increasing feeling of, do I need so and so person for this job? Now I'm switching it back to this creating intelligent enterprises, which I started with, right? I think the entire idea is to create intelligent enterprises to do mundane and menial tasks, not to do meaningful tasks. So for example, today, if I want to create some content, yes, I can use some great AI and some great technology tools, but they cannot really help tell a different story. So increasingly what's happening is that when people are using chat GPT as a solution, they can give you a standardized template. They are not able to give you what you really want for your company. So I think that's where the human capital comes in. And I think increasingly people will realize that creating intelligent enterprises by, again, transforming your companies digitally, automating your companies digitally and businesses automatically, is where the world is today. Because you have to give better opportunities to talent to do more meaningful tasks. If you continue to give them mundane and menial tasks, so all of this in a way is actually interrelated. So these are the 5 key trends that I'm seeing increasingly, and I think as we move along, yes, there are more platforms. There is platforms that give you voice, but I think the number of opportunities for people to do more meaningful tasks will be a lot more now.
Wonderful. Because couple of days back when Chat GTP and all these AI platforms were in the news, there were a lot of blogs where AI is going to take the jobs of people and there will be less
Correct.
workforce working on board. So yes, that's a good point that you have actually addressed. Like there will be a good amount of portion for doing meaningful job for the employees.
Because Naveen, finally at the end of the day, human capital, we have the ability to think. What
Yes.
AI does is that it identifies patterns and then assumes that we will do the same thing. So for example, let's assume that if you today wake up on the left side of the bed every day, AI will assume that you will again wake up from the bed the next day as well. But
Yes.
that's the beauty of us being humans, right? You might one day just wake up and say, you know what, I just want to try something different. And I think over the last 2 or 3 days, if you look at social media, a lot of people have put why GPT-4 with time is not improving, but it's deteriorating. So what's really happening is that, see, we as humans and as business leaders, we are always hungry and greedy for more and more and more things. When Chat GPT and AI came in, our expectations were here. Now our expectations are here. To travel this distance is going to take some time, right? So I am again sort of coming back. The intent for the companies and enterprises is to create intelligent enterprises to get rid of menial and mundane tasks. No one's willing to take away a job which requires human intervention and requires you to do something far more meaningful to the organization per se, right? And I think that's where we are all leading towards, and therefore we see so much around us, and digital is synonymous to oxygen today.
Absolutely. So moving ahead, I want to understand. So you have been working in India as well as you have been working in Dubai and the GCC countries as well.
Southeast Asia as well, yes.
Yes. So I want to understand what is the difference in the working environment and the customer demands in the India compared to UAE or maybe the GCC as a whole, and what is your focus in the future for GCC? Like what kind of products or how do you see the GCC market moving ahead in the future?
See, the fundamental difference in the regions is the culture. Therefore, people are different. When people are different, which means the way of doing business is different, right? So if I'm a different customer, my needs are different, right? So if you are an introvert, you're an introvert. If you're an extrovert, you're an extrovert. So therefore, you talk to an introvert in a different way, an extrovert in a different way.
True.
I think what's really been happening is that since US is the biggest economy in the world, and most of the innovation is always sort of stemmed from there when it comes to businesses, we all try to try and adopt the best global practices from the US, right? And then try and adapt it. I think the way that India has shaped up over the last 2 decades, right? And I'm not going to say just the 2 terms of Shri Narendra Modi, but I'm saying 2 decades, right? Because we made actually 3 after 1991. Our reforms have been so robust that today we are truly going to be amongst the top 3 global economies in the world, right? Now, India is a very different market. It's a very heterogeneous market. We've always focused a lot more on human capital more than anything else. Yes, we've transitioned from being an agriculture-focused country to today a services and a product-led country.
Yes.
And therefore we are, because we have that scale, and India is a heterogeneous market in that sense, right? The South is different than the North. So, South people will drink coffee which is stronger. North people will drink coffee that's not that strong in that sense. So, so that's a little bit of a difference. Also in the GCC, Oman is very different than UAE. Abu Dhabi, in fact, is very different than Dubai. The way of doing business and the way people move around is very different. But the one thing that everybody understands across the world is that the best practices will always remain the best practices, and everybody wants to adopt those best practices.
True.
So I think, yes, it takes time for people to imbibe, because people always think that the best practices come at a price, and not necessarily just money, but time, talent, and the vision, right? That do we really need this? And, we as humans, we are always resistant to change, but the fact is that change is the only constant in life, right? So there are business leaders who are visionary, and there are CEOs who are visionary. So there are these 3 key trends. Trends for CEOs that are emerging across the globe. Okay, one is that there is the technology space is disruptive, and will remain disruptive for the longest time. Now, under disruptive technology, what people are doing is that, and especially the CEOs, need to focus on developing advanced analytics, okay, which means getting the right data at the right time. I want to, today the CXOs and the board want to see the data cut from 20 different lenses so that they can take an informed decision, which initially, since the businesses were not digitized, was not really happening. And if you would ask your CFO for a report, and you need it today, but he would give it to you after 3 months, and by then a lot has changed. So digital transformation, so when it comes to technology and taking advantage of technology, CEOs are working there. B, what they're doing is that with technology, there is obviously a downside of security, right? So now they're all focusing a lot more on enhancing the cyber security side of the business, because with more and more technology seeping into our life, protecting your own data is becoming very important.
Yes.
Third, a very, very important point is that everybody is now looking at automating work, right? So work processes have to be automated so that you can become more efficient and you can focus more on strategy and more on execution rather than collecting data in that sense, right? The second, what is happening currently, which is again, it's very phased wise, is that there is an economic downturn, right? Now, when there is an economic downturn, one of the first things that companies do, and the companies that do well in the economic downturn, is that, for example, the companies in 2008, when the downturn came, the companies that did well compared to the companies that did not do well were the companies that started reducing their operational cost by at least 1% way before the companies that they did after. Yes. So for all the CEOs and the visionary leaders, it's important to see when is the downturn going to come, right? So absolutely, you should know if you should know as a racer or as someone who's driving the car, what is your braking point. You can't brake at the last minute and think, okay, I'm just going to get saved, right? So I think that is critical, that they are looking at reducing operational cost, and every day that's a challenge. Everyone's doing it, but you need to be a little more pragmatic about it. I think one of the other things that they're doing is that they are also now going to reassess their strategic and economic assumptions, right? Because as data changes, people tend to pivot, right? In COVID, and the biggest example is COVID, right? People started to pivot here and there. But here, I think, and I use the word pragmatic, is because a lot of business leaders on the board today are taking decisions basis information that is live. And that information can only come to you if your businesses are automated. Yes. You see how technology is playing this role. And therefore, that is also helping them to understand, should we redesign products and services? So today a customer is expecting more immersive experiences, then you need to redesign that and not really think, let's do it later. What happened during COVID is that it really pushed people into doing that. But a lot of visionary business leaders were already doing it before the COVID. So therefore, yes, you see, they are doing a lot better than the late adopters. Yes. Right? So, and the third issue for especially a lot of CEOs, because look, everybody has this innate need to grow and scale, right? And once you scale and you become a truly global sort of organization, there are a lot of geopolitical issues that are currently existing, and they are in front of us, for which a couple of things that the CEOs are going to look at and are looking is to, they're building very robust compliance capabilities, right? So you need to have a very robust compliance, because now, each company is sort of, becoming more and more stringent in terms of who's doing business in their own country. And B, they are also creating resilience in supplier networks. So after what happened in COVID and this over dependence on China, and if something goes wrong in the Strait of Gulf, or and ships are stuck, then they are all trying to now therefore understand, how do we bring resilience in the supplier networks, because in an economic downturn, they are the ones who get affected the most. So I think these three key trends for CEOs is something that's global. And like I said, it's global because all the CEOs either are becoming, and everyone's outward looking, right? Globalization is also key. So disruptive technology, economic downturn, and geopolitical issues are the three key trends that a lot of CEOs are looking very, very closely, especially, and also technology has become a very inherent part of every business today. So you cannot say that I'm not a technology company. At the end of the day, you are dependent on technology because you're automating your business processes. Yes. You're getting the right data, which is helping you to either avoid an economic downturn or thrive when the environment is right? So I think these are the three key trends that are happening. Yes, there is a lot of talent that is coming from Europe into the GCC. Therefore, what happens is when talent comes from the Europe to the GCC, there is Of course, the trajectory becomes that much, easier. It becomes faster, right? Because people with new ideas are able to convince. Again, they bring in the best practices, systems. So I think the GCC is right now, along with Asia, especially India, is the shining star in this economic downturn, where where obviously they're expecting a recession in Europe as well as in the US, and therefore I think we are in a good time, and especially entrepreneurs who are doing all the right things as we speak, and the CEOs are going to definitely be able to override this economic downturn as well.
So, as you know, our show is more about future leaders and entrepreneurs, and as you actually mentioned, there are certain challenges. What would be your advice? Like, these are the challenges for a startup that might come, and how does an entrepreneur or a CEO in an initial business tackle that challenges?
Look, I think one of the things that entrepreneurs and CEOs have to do today is that you need to reposition and refocus almost instantly, right? So you have a business plan. They all think we have a business plan. We are going to do this, but today, because of globalization, things change and situations change very, very swiftly, right? So, for example, in a downturn, in an economy which is obviously spiraling southbound, what happens is that your economy and your lead acquisition, meaning that your ability to acquire new clients becomes very, very slow. Okay, and which means that there's an impact on revenue. What happens is it forces the business owners to actually focus more on and become more efficient and focus on who you want to serve, right? Because you're not getting new clients. So you refocus and say, let me work with clients who I want to serve, because they are also going through a downturn and they are also looking at you to help them ride, this entire tide. So that's important. You need to also adopt advanced technologies. Okay. You need to have access to data. So, for example, the Power BI, the Power Business Intelligence tools that are available today, you'll be surprised, a lot of companies still don't have it, and there is this massive push to sort of get that into the system, which I told you that it gives you access to data, and you can look at the data from 20 other lenses, which will help you make the right decisions. Again, since all the entrepreneurs are now going to deal in countries, you need to build a robust compliance capability. You need to understand what those are. And again, I'll say the same thing, that you need to understand, you need to automate your work and business processes, right? So when you deploy advanced analytics, you build a robust compliance capability, you automate your work, these are all interconnected. This data will help you to reposition and refocus in a downturn and generally, and then your advanced analytics will also help you reduce operational costs, right? Otherwise, how will you reduce operational costs otherwise? So these are the things that are currently the flavor of or the talk of the town, as they say. But it's easier said than done. These are also principles that need to be implemented. But as the going says, and there's a favorite quote that Peter F. Drucker has sort of made, right? That when you see a successful business, someone once made a courageous decision.
Absolutely.
Right? And when you are automating your business processes, and when you're trying to sort of sell a new idea, the person on the other side needs to be courageous and take a decision. If you continue to sit on the fence, and that's how you see a lot of businesses perish, not because of the environment, they perish because of the leadership, right? Somebody decided to not be that courageous. And also there is one book that I read. I'm not a huge fan of books, but Peter Thiel and Blake Masters have written a book in 2014, which is 0 to 1, right? Now, for me, 0 to 1 has my own connotation, which I'm going to tell you. Look, it's very important for CEOs and businesses to understand the concept of 0 to 1. The 0 to 1 is very simple. The longer you stay on 0, the more prone you are to shutting your business. So you cannot be pre-revenue. The toughest journey is from 0 to 1. The minute you cross that, then there is no looking back. The challenge with most of the businesses today, or some of the businesses, is they don't move the needle from 0 to 1. They stay stuck in that pre-revenue mode, thinking my idea is great. Your idea is great. How? You're not getting any revenue. You're not getting customers validating your idea. Maybe you might want to relook at things, redesign product, services, and all of that.
Yes.
But Peter Thiel and Blake Masters also make a point where they say that doing what we already know, right, takes the world from 1 to n, which means that adding more of something familiar. But every time we create something new, that's when we go from 0 to 1. But that at a philosophical level is great. But I say this to people on the ground when there is a board meeting. I say, boss, let's get from 0 to 1. And each month you are starting at 0, right? Each new month you start at 0. So when you tell people that what's the progress, see, even when you look at progress, right, in technology implementation, if you say that, sir, status quo, which means that you're on 0, you need to move from that 0 to 1, at least finish 10%. If you don't even do that marginal 10%, what happens is that it automatically brings, because then everybody, it's got a domino effect. Therefore, everybody is stuck, right, in that sense.
Absolutely.
So these are the things that we speak on an everyday basis. One of the other things that I tell a lot of business owners and the board is the power of collaboration, strategic partnerships. It's not always about what will I get. It's about how can we make this work together. Yes, you might have all the capabilities, but like Steve Jobs said, that every business cannot be done by one person. You need to be collaborative in your effort. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, and especially the startup community, they don't really understand the power of collaboration. When you collaborate, you need to understand and adapt to each other's strength and move forward. And that is something that's been happening in the US for the longest time, and Europe, and now it's happening a lot and collaboration can come from government entities, can come from your business, from your competitor. Maybe he's good at some things. So when you tend to look at the larger picture, which is, looking at what you would want to achieve in your life, right? Everybody wants to be successful. Can you tell me one person who wakes up from the bed thinking, today I will purposely not be successful? Nobody does, right?
No.
Everybody wants to either do their job or do their job well and therefore move forward.
Yes.
To be able to do that, you need to move from 0 to 1 in your mind. You might have thought that you achieved something, but if you not move the needle, you still stay there. So and there are various interesting ways in which companies and people are working now. So yes, there is a lot that is happening, and inshallah, of course, it will get better as well. So we're in a good space.
Wonderful insight. So as we are almost at the end of a show, I just have one last question to you.
Sure.
Which any book or any person that you follow and you would recommend to the future entrepreneurs, that you keep following him and keep learning from him, the challenges they faced, how they tackled, and how they were moving ahead? So any book or any person that you actually admire and follow?
I think the person that I follow the most is actually Sundar Pichai, right? It's not it's not very easy to take over the reins of a multi-billion-dollar company. Look, for entrepreneurs who've made it big, it's easy. It's your baby. You can do whatever you want with it, right?
Yes.
But Tim Cook, for example, when you take over a legacy business, which is one of the top 3 or 5 in the world, can you imagine the kind of challenges that they go through, right?
Yeah.
The complexities, because they are a multi-billion-dollar business where there is you have to talk to the Senate, you have to understand. So I think the simplicity with which he presents himself, Sundar Pichai, he's got such an easy approach, personality. You don't have to really be this extremely good-looking, charming, charismatic leader. You can just be a leader who has absolute clarity of thought, makes any business complexity look so simple, and is completely unfazed and continues to move along. So Sundar Pichai is a person who moves from 0 to 1 every day for me. Okay, because he's that one person who's, of course, there are lots of exemplary leaders who might be doing it, but I think every time I look at his aura, his personality. A few days back, he was at Gift City. The way he conducts himself in a regular world, when you look at Elon Musk. He's still, he's still got this aura about him. He's a little more, outgoing. He's there. Sundar Pichai is not that. But look at the businesses, the complexities he's handling and will continue to handle. And he's so humble at the end of the day still, which is what leaders have to. They are humble. His feet are his feet are on the ground. He exactly knows what needs to be done. Yes, he might not be right every time, but he continues to say that I'm learning.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think those are the qualities that I really admire. I think, again, along our journey, we tend to get a little more over ambitious and we think that, we've done a lot. I think people like Sundar Pichai actually sort of, it basically pushes us to self-reflect and say, okay, look at what he's achieving and the way he's going about doing this compared to us. So I think that one personality is something that's I look forward, and Anand Mahindra is another one in India. So these are, they are so polished, they are so clear, they are not brash, they are not abrasive, they bring absolute humility. They'll always talk about economic development. Anand Mahindra every day puts one video on Twitter, which is this insane innovation that an average Indian is doing, for example. So these are 2 or 3 personalities that I really sort of I'm not being biased because I'm an Indian, but I think that these are the 2 who have done well. And again, both these gentlemen have actually sort of taken over legacy businesses and only grown them. So that's also very, very important. When you take over a legacy business, the expectations are far higher. Compared to anything else. So I think those 2 would be my are my sort of people that I look up to.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Darshan, for such a wonderful insight and your time for the Power Talk show. I hope we can get you again back sometime next year when we conduct another podcast. But it was a wonderful insight talking to you.
Thank you, Naveen. Thank you for having me here, and it's always a pleasure. We'll be happy to do this again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wishing your team all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Darshan.